The buzz of the city filled the air as the annual charity gala approached, an event every socialite marked on their calendar. It wasn't just a fundraiser, it was the place to be seen, the pinnacle of high society's social ladder. This year's theme was A Night Under the Stars, a grand affair hosted at a historic manor, its sprawling gardens adorned with shimmering fairy lights and an orchestra poised to play. Invitations were notoriously hard to come by, only the elite, the influential, and those with deep pockets received the coveted gilded envelope. As I stepped out of the black car and adjusted my emerald gown, the memories of the past came flooding back. This night wasn't just about philanthropy for me, it was personal. Just 2 years ago, I'd been sitting in a tiny apartment, my life in shambles after my ex-husband, Richard, had left me for a younger woman, Claire. Divorce had been swift, cruel, and humiliating. He'd taken our social circle, the house, and even our dog, leaving me with nothing but a hefty lawyer's bill and shattered confidence. Rebuilding my life had been a quiet, grueling process. While Richard and Claire flaunted their romance on social media and climbed higher in society, I kept my head down, investing every waking moment into something meaningful, starting a nonprofit for underprivileged women. What began as a small idea had blossomed into a movement. Tonight was the culmination of that effort, though few people knew the truth behind it. Inside the grand hall, the event was already in full swing. The wealthy mingled, sipping champagne and laughing under the golden chandeliers. My heart pounded as I made my way to the garden, where the night's program would begin. Most of the guests had no idea I was the person behind the event. I had purposefully kept my identity quiet, preferring the cause to shine, but there was one person I knew would notice me, Richard. Sure enough, as I reached the edge of the garden, I heard his unmistakable laugh. He was standing near the fountain, a glass of wine in hand, with Claire clinging to his arm. She was dressed to the nines, her sparkling gown a little too tight, her smile a little too practiced. I hesitated, my confidence wavering for a moment. Did I really want to face them tonight? What if they made a scene? The decision was made for me. Richard caught sight of me and froze mid-laugh. His expression quickly shifted from confusion to incredulity. Well, he said, his voice dripping with mockery. Didn't expect to see you here, Emily. Claire turned, her gaze sweeping over me like a scanner. She must be on staff, she said lightly, her words laced with venom. Are you serving tonight? A wave of humiliation surged through me, but I forced myself to keep my composure. Actually, I said with a small smile, I'm here as a guest, but it's nice to see you two again. Richard's smirk didn't waver. You always did love to dream big, he said, sipping his wine, but don't get your hopes up too much. This is a tough crowd, not everyone belongs here. His words stung, but I refused to let it show. I knew what they didn't, that I was the reason this gala existed. I'd spent months planning, coordinating, and securing funding. Everything about tonight was a reflection of my hard work, but now wasn't the time to reveal that. Let them enjoy their delusions for a little longer. As the evening progressed, I moved through the crowd, quietly observing. My nonprofit had attracted some high-profile donors, and the event was a resounding success. Yet, I couldn't shake the sting of Richard and Claire's words. Their presence felt like a dark cloud over an otherwise perfect night. Then came the announcement for the keynote speaker. My heart raced as the host took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's gala would not have been possible without the vision and dedication of one remarkable individual. Please join me in welcoming Emily Carter, founder of Empower Women Initiative. The crowd erupted into applause as I made my way to the stage, but it wasn't the applause I noticed, it was the stunned faces of Richard and Claire, their expressions frozen in shock as I walked past them. The applause rang in my ears as I stepped onto the stage, my heart pounding. Beneath the warm light of the chandeliers, the room seemed smaller now, more intimate, every pair of eyes fixed on me. I scanned the crowd briefly, locking onto Richard and Claire's dumbfounded expressions for the briefest second before shifting my gaze to the audience as a whole. Good evening, everyone, I began, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside me. Thank you for joining us tonight for this important cause. Empower Women Initiative started as a simple dream, an idea that women, regardless of their circumstances, deserve opportunities to thrive. I continued, outlining the nonprofit's mission and the strides we had made in providing education, resources, and support for underprivileged women. With every word, I felt a sense of triumph. This moment was mine, built on resilience and hard work, but I couldn't ignore the glances and murmurs in the audience, particularly from Richard and Claire's table. Their earlier confidence had evaporated, replaced by visible discomfort. After the speech, I descended the stage to a standing ovation. My colleagues and several guests approached me, offering congratulations and sharing their excitement for the cause. I was basking in the warmth of genuine support when I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Emily," Richard said, his tone strained. I turned slowly to face him and Claire. Up close, their polished facade was beginning to crack. Richard's usual smirk was gone, replaced with a forced smile, while Claire clung to his arm, her knuckles white. "That was unexpected," Richard said, trying to sound casual. "I had no idea you were behind all of this." "Really?" I replied, feigning surprise. "I thought you'd have heard. Empower Women initiative has been making waves lately, but then again, I suppose we've been busy traveling in different circles." Claire stepped forward, her smile as sharp as a blade. "It's quite the coincidence, isn't it? You showing up here, of all places, almost like you planned it." I raised an eyebrow. "Planned it? Claire, I've been working on this event for months, but don't worry, it's open to everyone, even those who don't quite understand the cause." Her cheeks flushed, but before she could respond, Richard interjected. "Come now, Emily, no need to be snide. This is a celebration, isn't it? Let's not bring old grudges into such a beautiful evening." The irony of his words made me laugh. "You're right, Richard, no grudges here, just progress." The rest of the evening became a chess game of subtle jabs and veiled comments. At one point, I caught snippets of their conversation with another guest. "Emily's little project seems to have gained traction," Claire said, her voice just loud enough for me to overhear. "It's impressive, considering where she started, though I suppose even a broken clock is right twice a day." I clenched my fists, willing myself not to react. Confronting them now would only detract from the night's success. Instead, I focused on the connections I was making, engaging with donors and partners who believed in the initiative's mission. But the evening took a dramatic turn during the auction. Among the high-value items up for bid was a week-long retreat at an exclusive resort, a prize that had attracted fierce competition. To my surprise, Richard joined the bidding, his paddle raised confidently. "Going once, going twice, $50,000, I said, raising my own paddle. The room fell silent. Richard turned, his face a mixture of shock and indignation. "Emily, are you serious?" "Why wouldn't I be?" I replied, my voice calm. "It's for a good cause, after all." The auctioneer, sensing the tension, continued. 50,000, do I hear 55? Richard hesitated, his pride battling his wallet. Finally, he shook his head, and the auctioneer declared me the winner. The crowd applauded, but the look Richard shot me was anything but congratulatory. As I signed the paperwork, he approached me, his voice low and angry. "What are you trying to prove?" "Prove?" I said, meeting his gaze evenly. "Nothing, Richard, I'm simply supporting the cause. Isn't that why we're here?" Claire joined him, her eyes narrowed. "You've changed, Emily." I smiled. "Yes, I have, and judging by your reaction, I'd say it's for the better." By the end of the night, Richard and Claire were visibly flustered. I, on the other hand, felt invigorated, but as I left the gala, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Richard's ego wouldn't let him walk away quietly, and Claire's animosity was a storm waiting to brew. I knew I had won the evening, but the real battle was yet to come. The gala had marked a turning point, a public triumph that exposed cracks in Richard and Claire's carefully curated personas, but I knew better than to let my guard down. Their anger wasn't just bruised egos, it was a storm gathering strength, ready to strike when I least expected it. A week later, I was in my office, reviewing our latest outreach numbers. Empower Women initiative was thriving, donations from the gala had surpassed expectations, and new partnerships were blossoming. Yet, amidst the good news, there was a lingering unease. "Emily, my assistant, Jenna, said as she entered the room, holding a newspaper, have you seen this?" I glanced at the headline, my stomach dropping. "Philanthropist or opportunist? Allegations surface against Empower Women initiative founder." The article was filled with insinuations, questioning the organization's legitimacy and my personal intentions. Words like self-serving, mismanagement, and misleading donors leapt off the page. The accusations were baseless, but the damage was done. My reputation was now under scrutiny. Jenna's voice was tight with anger. "This is ridiculous. Who would plant something like this?" I didn't need to guess, Richard. Later that evening, I received a call from one of our biggest donors. "Emily, I'm deeply concerned," Mrs. Whitaker said, her voice strained. "I've been hearing troubling things about the initiative. Are these claims true?" "Mrs. Whitaker, I assure you, every dollar is accounted for, and our mission is as genuine as ever," I replied, keeping my voice calm, despite the knot in my stomach. These rumors are unfounded, likely from someone with personal motives to harm my reputation. She hesitated. I want to believe you, but until this clears up, I'll have to put my support on hold. The call ended, leaving me reeling. Losing donors was exactly what Richard and Claire wanted. Determined to fight back, I began digging for evidence. With Jenna's help, I tracked the source of the article to a shady PR firm. A little more digging revealed their biggest client, a corporation where Richard held a significant stake. It's him, I said, slamming the folder on my desk. He's behind this smear campaign. What do we do? Jenna asked. We go public, I said firmly, but not until I have something bigger. If Richard wants a fight, I'll give him one. The next move came sooner than expected. Days later, Claire showed up unannounced at one of our community centers. She was dressed impeccably, her smile as fake as her apologies. Emily, she said, her voice syrupy sweet. I thought I'd drop by to see the amazing work you're doing. I crossed my arms. Why are you really here, Claire? She feigned innocence. I'm hurt. Can't a sister-in-law support your cause? We both know you don't care about this initiative. Say what you came to say. Her mask slipped for a moment, her eyes flashing with anger. Fine, Richard warned you to stay in your lane, but you didn't listen. Now you're going to lose everything. I stepped closer, my voice low and steady. Tell Richard this, the more he tries to tear me down, the stronger I'll fight back, and when this is over, he won't just lose, he'll regret ever underestimating me. Claire's smile returned, but it didn't reach her eyes. Good luck, Emily, you'll need it. That evening, I decided to take a calculated risk. I reached out to an investigative journalist I trusted, sharing the evidence we had on the smear campaign and Richard's connection to it. This is risky, Jenna said as I hung up the phone. It's necessary, I replied. Richard wants a war? Let's give him one. The journalist worked quickly, and within days, a new article hit the headlines. Business tycoon's campaign to smear philanthropist exposed, the truth behind the scandal. The piece laid out Richard's ties to the PR firm, the baseless nature of the accusations, and his history of using underhanded tactics to crush perceived threats. It ended with a glowing endorsement of Empower Women initiative, reaffirming our integrity. The fallout was swift. Richard's company faced backlash, with clients and investors questioning his ethics. Claire, ever the opportunist, tried to distance herself, claiming ignorance of her husband's actions. But I wasn't done. A week later, I held a press conference, addressing the scandal head-on. I started Empower Women initiative to create change, to give women a chance to rise above their circumstances. I said, my voice unwavering, we've faced challenges, but we've never strayed from our mission. To those who tried to silence us, let me be clear, you will not succeed. The room erupted in applause, and I felt a surge of pride. This wasn't just about me anymore, it was about everyone who believed in our cause. As I left the podium, Jenna leaned in. You did it, Emily, you turned the tables. Not entirely, I said, a steely resolve in my voice. Richard and Claire aren't finished yet, but neither am I. The pressure was mounting for Richard and Claire. Their attempts to tarnish my reputation had backfired spectacularly, but I knew better than to underestimate them. This wasn't over until I dismantled their power entirely. One evening, while reviewing our latest funding proposals, Jenna burst into my office, phone in hand. You need to see this, she said, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and disbelief. I took her phone and saw a video making rounds on social media. It was grainy, likely captured on a hidden camera, but the audio was crystal clear. Emily doesn't deserve what she has, Richard's voice sneered. She thinks she can humiliate me and get away with it? Let's ruin her for good, and if we have to burn her organization to the ground, so be it. Claire chimed in, laughing. It's not like she has any real power, she's just playing dress-up. By the time we're done, no one will even remember her name. I leaned back in my chair, letting the words sink in. This wasn't just an attack on me, it was a declaration of war, but whoever leaked this footage had given me a weapon I couldn't ignore. Jenna, I said, my voice steady, this changes everything. The video went viral overnight, igniting outrage from the public. Media outlets dissected every word, and social media erupted with hashtags like #StandWithEmily and #ExposeTheRichards. Richard and Claire scrambled to do damage control, issuing a half-hearted apology, but the public wasn't buying it. Their company's stock plummeted, and high-profile clients began severing ties. I watched the chaos unfold with a sense of grim satisfaction, but there was still one more move to make. A week later, Richard summoned me to a private meeting. It was a bold move, but I suspected desperation drove him. I agreed to meet him at a luxury hotel, knowing this was my chance to end things on my terms. The conference room was opulent, but the tension was palpable. Richard was already seated, his expression a mask of forced composure. Claire sat beside him, looking equally uneasy. "You've made quite a mess, Emily," Richard said, his voice laced with venom. "No, Richard," I replied, taking a seat across from him, "you did that all by yourself." He leaned forward, his tone sharp. "This can end right now, drop the public spectacle, and we'll compensate you generously." I laughed, the sound cutting through the heavy silence. "You think this is about money? It's about accountability. You tried to destroy me, my work, and everything I've built. Did you really think I'd back down?" Claire interjected, her voice shrill. "You're making a mistake. You don't have the resources to take us on." I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "This says otherwise." Richard opened it, his face darkening as he scanned the documents. They detailed years of shady dealings, tax evasion, fraudulent contracts, and other misdeeds that could ruin him both financially and legally. "Where did you get this?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. "Let's just say I had help," I replied cryptically. "You've made enough enemies over the years. It wasn't hard to find someone willing to share." Claire paled, realizing the gravity of the situation. "What do you want?" I leaned in, my voice cold. "I want you to step down from your company, publicly admit to your actions and make amends, and stay out of my life, for good." Richard's jaw tightened, but he knew he had no choice. "Fine," he spat. "You win." The fallout was swift. Richard resigned, issuing a public apology that barely concealed his bitterness. Claire retreated from the spotlight, her social media accounts going silent. Their empire crumbled, leaving them powerless and humiliated. Meanwhile, Empower Women initiative flourished, donations poured in, and our impact grew beyond anything I could have imagined. The public rallied around us, inspired by our resilience in the face of adversity. Months later, I stood on the stage of our annual gala, looking out at a room filled with supporters. "This year has been a journey," I began, my voice filled with emotion. "We faced challenges that tested our strength, but we emerged stronger, more united. This isn't just my victory, it's ours. Together, we've shown that integrity and determination can overcome even the most powerful adversaries." The audience rose in applause, their energy electrifying. As I stepped off the stage, Jenna approached me, beaming. "You did it, Emily. You didn't just survive, you thrived." I smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. This is only the beginning. There's so much more to do. And for the first time in a long while, I felt truly free.